Welcome to the podcast, Pack Your Bags and Wait. Let's talk about managing finances. And today I have with me Conor and Roland. I'm going to let you present yourself, explain what do you study, where did you go, and why.
All right. Do you want to start, Conor? Or...
Yeah, sure. So I am currently a second-year law student, and last summer I went on my study abroad to Utrecht for 2 weeks in June, I think, as far as I remember. And now I work in the study abroad office as one of the peer advisors with Emilie.
Okay, so I'm Roland. I'm currently doing my third year bachelor abroad. So it's a 4 year abroad, currently in Mexico. And yeah, it's pretty good. I came here in August, now it's March, so it's been quite a while. And yeah, study business management. So I have the same classes here, and yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess.
Did you get to go back home for Christmas, or did you go?
No, I did not, unfortunately. Well, kind of for the theme of budget finances, I guess, because yeah, the flight was pretty expensive, and I wanted to get the full Mexico experience as well. Like I thought I traveled a bit during this time, so used the time to travel.
Well, you could have fit in the sickness topic as well.
Yeah, definitely, because it is pretty long.
I went to Hong Kong last year, and it was also 10 months straight away. I didn't get to go home,
but I guess with 2 years prior to this one in the UK, with coming to France, but not all the time, so kind of got used to it, living alone, all of this. So yeah.
So did you find it difficult to budget your money during the exchange, and how did you manage your finances? Did you face any difficulties? Did you get help from the study abroad, from the home uni or the host uni? Do you wish you would have done anything different?
Will I go first?
Yeah, let's go for this.
Yeah. Okay, so I suppose the nature of my time abroad is obviously quite different in that I was only abroad for the 2 weeks for the summer exchange. So that's, in terms of budgeting, I think that has a significant impact, obviously, because when you're going abroad for such a short period of time, I actually think sometimes it can be even more difficult to budget, because there's so much you want to do and so little time in which to do it, and then you end up sort of spending a huge amount of money if you don't plan very well. And so I think that something that I would certainly have noticed is that I think you want to set a limit before you go. You want to definitely know what your budget is, and then you can divide accordingly as what you want to spend that money on. But I think that one of the worst things that you could do is to go with almost that sort of unlimited budget mindset, because there will inevitably be so many things that you want to do and you've so little time to do it, and you'll just make these sort of dare I say it, rash decisions to spend your money on something that maybe you'd regret. So that's probably one of the first things that I would say about the nature of my study abroad that I kind of did. And then, obviously, so before you go, I think it's very important to kind of consider what you think are the important things that you want to get out of your study abroad. Because if you know what you want to get out of your study abroad, then you can tailor the way you spend your money accordingly to maximize that, right? So, if you want to go for the great social life, whatever, then, you can spend that money accordingly. Now, obviously, there's the academic side as well, or if you want to have, more of a historical and cultural sort of take on your study abroad, then you can spend your money that way. And so I think that by identifying before you go what sort of things you'd like to focus on, that can be actually quite helpful in terms of figuring out the way that you'd like to spend your money.
What did you choose to focus on?
Well, actually, so luckily in the Netherlands and in Utrecht, a lot of things were free. So you could do a lot of the cultural stuff for free. You can visit the castle for free, and you can do all these sort of things for free. I mean, the beauty of the Netherlands is the canals and that sort of structure, and biking around obviously is totally free, right? So you can see all that stuff free. And so by virtue of that, I was able to sort of keep some of my money aside then for more of a fun partying evening, But yes, that's kind of the majority of what my money went on, by virtue of the fact that a lot of the cultural stuff was actually free anyways.
Yeah. Do you have to move around, like doing transports and stuff, or was it affordable?
Yeah, well, yeah,
Or
so the beauty of the Netherlands is actually its size. It's quite small, so you can actually see a huge amount of the country in a very short space of time. So I was only there for 2 weeks, but during
You
those
got to
two
see the
weeks,
whole country.
yeah, we were based in Utrecht, but we traveled to The Hague, we traveled to Amsterdam, we traveled to Rotterdam, which is the majority of the country. Travel is not too expensive, as far as I remember, but obviously a consideration in terms of when you're budgeting, right? If you want to, go and see other areas of the country, you need to factor that expense in.
yeah. Yeah. I remember the most expensive parts during my travel was actually the food. Like I was with some friends, and I just remember, if like Mexico generally is like, I thought it would be pretty cheap, but it is cheaper than Europe and everything. But actually, I was surprised, like having breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Um, it was kind of it did a big hit on my budget, and that's why, like, when I traveled alone, I went to hostels and actually bought my own food, started cooking, because I was like, yeah, I can't afford like a full month's travel without doing so.
Food was also
Yeah,
my biggest issue. In Hong Kong, the food was pretty cheap, like having dim sums for like less than £1. And then you would think, oh, it's cheap, so let me eat out like
yeah,
all the time. And then it accumulates, and then you're like, oh shit, I
yeah,
spent a
yeah.
shit ton of money on food.
I feel like you have to do things kind of consciously. Like I always, I mean, for instance, I'm a big fan of like coffee. I like drinking coffee. I have my cup of coffee when I work, and like we have this huge campus where, well, obviously there's like Starbucks. Like it's pretty. I was pretty amazed by the campus, by the way. But yeah, always like getting your little snack. Like there's no small economy. That's maybe a big thing. Like everything, I try to do things like consciously, like, as you said, Conor, like you need to plan like what you're gonna spend your money on. And there's always like these small details where you're like, oh, it's pretty cheap, so it doesn't make a big difference. But at the end of the day, especially if you accumulate it over like a month, 2 months, and I mean, it depends how long the travel will be. It actually adds up pretty quick. So
Yeah, I think that in terms of when you actually do sit down to plan it, how much you might like to spend or whatever, I think that there's all these sort of little costs that you don't think of, or that
yeah,
on a day-to-day basis you go, oh, I'd like to spend my money on that on a whim or whatever. And I think that so it's important maybe to set aside a certain amount of money that you
yeah,
just have as a sort of discretionary expenditure, and so that you can afford to spend a certain amount over what you've planned in.
yeah,
But obviously it gets dangerous then when every day or every hour you're sort of going, oh, I'll have that as well because that's cheap and
yeah,
that's
yeah.
cheap and that's cheap, and all the
That's
cheap.
currently my
Definitely.
problem. I have my little budget, and then every time I go to prep for my coffee or tea, I'm like, oh my god, this cookie looks amazing, and I'm like, oh, it's only £2.20. I mean, £2.20 is a lot for a cookie, but
Yeah,
it's such a good cookie, and I'm like, okay, I'll
Yeah.
grab it. And then you're like, before you break
I do.
at 4, you're like, I want another one, and then it's like £5 for just cookies.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you have 10 euros that just or £10 that just left your pocket, and you didn't even plan it. You don't even know where and how they got away.
What was the most difficult for you in Mexico?
For me, I guess maybe traveling. Like it's pretty hard. Well, when you have like long trips, especially in Latin America and stuff, you have a lot of like 1 week vacations. So, I mean, a lot. We have 1 week vacations where you have to organize, find some friends, and do some stuff. And like sometimes it might be a bit hard to be in accordance with a right budget. Oh no, I want the super cheap hotel, the super cheap. I actually didn't find the solution to this, because I feel like there's always going to be like some part of compromise between your wants and what happens and everything. But I guess that was a pretty tough part, like to budget, because even when you're in vacation, your mindset on budget, I kind of forgot it for a moment. So it taught me a lot. But what I would advise for the new year abroad or exchange students would be to be conscious about the vacations, how it's going to be a big spending on the budget.
Do you have any practical tip? Like, do you write down? Do you have an app or?
What I do is actually I use Revolut. I don't know if you know the app, and I actually use the option. Like I'm the one who chooses when I put myself some money on the main account. So I wouldn't be able to use my card if the main account is empty. And so that actually reminds me all the time, like it's actually very good reminder because I have to actively add money to it. And so that's the tip I use kind of. So when I go like adding like 20 euros, 50 euros, and I'd be like, okay, that's my money for the week. And if I kind of mess up, I'll be like super careful with the food or with like going out. Sometimes like I don't fully respect it, but like I feel like it's a great reminder for my budget, like instead of just having your full budget for the month and being like on the 15th having used like almost all of it, it's good to like add yourself bit by bit is a pretty good thing.
Well, actually, just to sort of contrast what has just been said, I am way more old-fashioned, and so I sit down with my pen and paper and my notebook and just write out what I plan on spending on everything and just create a list. So I'm not quite as fancy as the using Revolut and the whole that whole thing. Yeah, so I would just practically sit down and just write it out. I think, like, obviously I had less time, and so it was less of a consideration in terms of long term how my finances would pan out, and so the whole travel consideration wasn't as big a thing because we weren't going away as frequently and things like that. But at the same time, I think that you definitely do want to balance what you're spending. So like, I think that I definitely had to consider how much I was willing to spend on moving around the country versus that, because that obviously takes money away from, if you want to go party every night of the week rather than 4 nights of the week. Obviously be conscious of, it's all a balancing act. And so, what you spend on one thing, you can't spend on another. And so I think that, it's great the method that you use by kind of putting only a certain amount of money into your account. You're forced to consider, okay, if I plan on traveling next week, then I can't, I only have a certain amount of money in my account this week because I put that money aside for the travel next week. And so I think that when you do, in combination with the balancing act, what you have done is complements it perfectly, I think.
I have to add something.
Yeah,
like if there's some future exchange students that are like me and they're very even with Revolut get to not respect their budgets, but then I forced myself by getting an app that is called, let me tell you, it's called Money Manager, where I write down everything I spent, and then it shows me statistics of like where do I spend the most of my money in. And then by the end of the month, when I look at my statistics, I'm like having a heart attack by realizing how much I spend where, and then it allows me to kind of know how to plan better my next month. So in addition to Revolut, I'm using an app because sometimes Revolut, they also do statistics, but they're not really relevant sometimes because
they put everything in the same category, and then it doesn't mean a lot, or you have a big spending and just messes up the whole statistic. And do you put it manually, or do you use or it's like kind of linked?
So I do it manually, and then it's much easier than what I used to do in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, because I was trying different techniques of budgeting, but in Hong Kong I was doing an Excel sheet, but I would have to open my computer, type in my Excel sheet, and then I would put in details what I spent on, blah, 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 and it was a bit messy. So in the end, and the app was much easier because I would just put a category. It would be a color, and then when they would do the statistics, it would be a lot of blue, a lot of food spent. But
the food is the biggest for me as well.
But so either paper like Connor, I guess,
Mm.
either just
And I feel like the simpler solutions you can have are the ones maybe you'll stick to. Because like, yeah, having next, I tried the Excel sheet as well, and it's really hard to organize. And you're like super motivated at the beginning, but at the end you're like, I feel like if you want to stick to something, maybe start little. I would say that would kind of apply with every habit, I guess. But financially, it's I would suggest using some small apps like this or something simple, and just keep it clear, keep things organized, and just use a reminder kind of, and it's pretty good. I like the app. What is it called again? I'm interested now.
Money manager. It
Also,
actually sends you notifications like, hey, you forgot to do your budgeting, and I'm like, shit.
I feel like there's also like you find some satisfaction of putting money aside. Sometimes it's pretty you feel pretty good, and feel like you can find some satisfaction on when you don't take the cookie or you don't do whatever. Like, sometimes you get the temptation, and it makes you feel good. So maybe consider this aspect of budgeting, because it kind of like seems like something you have to do that's bad and it's annoying, or you can't get whatever you want, but it actually feels pretty good when you do it actually. I would also consider the fact, I mean, we're talking about finances and like, sticking to a plan and everything, but I feel like letting yourself have some shifts is sometimes it feels good, as long as you come back to your budget, or it's like, and respectfully. But because I try to tell myself, oh, I'm not going out, I'm not doing this and stuff. And at the end, like, it's good to sometimes, go out to the club and, or go out to eat with some friends. Like, being too rigid or too radical wouldn't be the solution either. Because I feel like there's something like, I got that at least, and it's kind of like some financial anxiety. I wouldn't say it's anxiety, but you're like paranoid about your budget. And I feel like it's unhealthy as well. So it's good to like have tips and be careful and everything, but it's like we're all human, and I think it's a good reminder as well.
I agree. I would have some moments as well in Hong Kong when I was so stressed about money, and I was like, oh, I have so little left. But then I actually got financial help from the host university that really helped me feel better and actually enjoy. And I got it at the perfect time, right before celebrations of like for Christmas. And I was really short at that moment. And they gave me the equivalent of 1 month rent, because they gave financial help to those who had independent housing, not a unit accommodation. And I had the equivalent of £700, which was really good. Really nice. So with friends, we could actually go to like a proper restaurant, nice restaurant for like Christmas, New Year's, and it helped a lot. So, because in my case, because we were not like, we didn't have the Erasmus funding, because I know those who went to Europe, they had like 2,000 or something. I didn't get the touring scheme neither. I know I have a lot of friends who were really mad about this, because it changed a lot in their planning, budgeting. One thing I'd add is look up like if there are any financial help from the university, the host one as well. Just that can make a difference.
I really wasn't aware I'd receive a fund, to be honest. When I received an email. I don't know about if you knew you'd get. I've heard about it, but it's just some random day I received like, oh, you're gonna receive like. It was actually a pretty big amount. It was like about, I think, £2,700, and
it's a fantastic email to receive.
It's for university, and it's like, oh, you're eligible to this funding, and all the people doing the year abroad. It's for the full year.
I didn't get it.
People from Kings. But I don't know. I don't know how well, but I'll keep some aside for next year, because I don't. Like some, because I received some money, but I need to spend it all, and so I'll try to keep some a bit for next year, which I'm pretty scared of coming back, because I'm starting to realize to think the prices here in Mexico are expensive, so I'm very scared of coming back actually.
Yeah, I can tell you, London right now is not the easiest.
It's not true.
Yeah,
I think it's important that in terms of all these sort of grants and scholarships and things, for people to be proactive about looking for them, because I think that there's a lot of opportunities that are available, but unless you go seeking them out, you actually won't know about their existence for a start, and then you certainly won't get it if you don't apply. So I think that it's important before you actually go on your study abroad, or whenever the relevant application deadline is, to have researched what funding is available, because you could very well be entitled to funding that you should definitely claim if you're eligible for it.
100%.
Is there anything you want to add, or should we go to the last question?
No, yeah, I don't have anything to add on this theme at least.
If there is one thing you could tell to your pre-study abroad self, what would it be? Quite a tricky question, I have to admit.
Think about it.
But regardless of whether it's financial or not, just what would you tell yourself?
It's pretty hard. Well, I'm still doing my year abroad, so I can't really tell like what I'll miss. Enjoy the most of it, but it's pretty basic.
Well, I think as someone who has actually finished my study abroad, I probably should be the one to take the lead on this. I think this is not financial or finance related, but just it's a truly wonderful experience, and to get to go abroad. And so I think that one thing that I actually regret is that, like in the immediate run up to my study abroad, I had so many other things going on, and it almost it was a case of, the day arrived when I was leaving, and it was almost a surprise. I had almost forgotten that it was happening. And so I think that one thing I would change is that, to get more excited about it. I mean, it was such a fun experience. And if I had, spent more time actually figuring out, all the different things I'd be able to do, I'd actually, I think, have made more use of my time. Not to say that we didn't, make use of our time, the group of us, when we were there, but I think that, it's such fun, and just get excited about it and really go and enjoy it.
Yeah, I fully agree, actually. Like, you can easily get used to it, but you don't realize how much of an experience it actually is. I would add something, which is maybe just also, like, if you're going to a country where like it's abroad. I mean, French people were known for like sticking together, at least. I don't know about the other people, but that's an advice I give. And when I see my French friends that don't know, like, it's been more than 7 months here, and they still don't speak a word of Spanish. Hopefully with the uni, I got my classes in Spanish and everything, so I really managed to level up on the language and meet new friends and everything. But if that's not the case for the ones who are listening, I would say maybe force yourself to go out there and try to meet people from the country you're in, just to learn and grow and live something new. But it'd always be like more comfortable to be with the French people, obviously. For me, at least, like just joking, and it's all more mellow and easy. But I'd suggest maybe try to seek out new experiences, people, etc., etc. So
out of the comfort zone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that was it. Thank you, Conor and Roland, for participating. There were some really great tips and useful information. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.